I think if you think that AI won't have an effect on you, you're wrong. It's gonna affect every single aspect of our lives. My job is to take this puzzle, put it together, come up with the correct diagnosis, and come up with the correct treatment plan. And I just don't think AI can substitute that. Now, there's definitely place in AI in veterinary medicine. There's a very big push for medical documentation, which I love, because basically you can turn on the recording and just speak like you and I are speaking now, and it will categorize it in the way that we record our medical note. And the cool part is that as the conversation goes, like let's say even if we're part of the client education portion of the visit, which usually comes at the end, if you say something that it's history-based, it will automatically put it up there. So I love that. I have to lean into it. It's the future. I mean, I can't ignore it.
Imagine having direct access to someone who's navigated life's toughest terrains and come out stronger. Someone who's been there, done that, and can guide you with empathy, experience, and honesty. This isn't just advice. It's a lifeline, a strategy session, a chance to learn from my journey so you can accelerate yours. Without the ability to be self-aware and introspective, the ability for you to get to where you want to go, nearly impossible. Hey everybody, welcome back to the David Guttman podcast. I have a guest today that will always have a special place in my heart and my wife's heart, Dr. Ori Eizenberg Weinger. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Ori Eizenberg Weinger.
So this is the man who saved our little dog. So my wife and I had gotten, I guess at the time he was probably a little bit over a pound teacup poodle caviar, aka Cavi. And of course, my wife had to give him the bougiest name she could possibly think of, but it suits him. But anyway, so yeah, we brought him, we got him on a Friday night. We were having a party, and so Sina was basically left the party the whole time, was taking care of, was watching Cavi because he was really, really struggling, and we brought him to your veterinarian place the next day, and you guys saved him. By way of backdrop, my podcast is I mostly interview CEOs, successful entrepreneurs that also happen to have a good moral compass, because there's a lot of psychopathy in the C-suite, unfortunately. And just seeing how well your place is run. In fact, my wife and I were joking about it, that we were convinced that if you stopped paying your staff, they would still all show up. Right? So I definitely want to dig into kind of how you've built the culture you have. But I did want to start just by way of backdrop, I knew you were born in Israel. I think you were in Israel until you came to school, or how old were you when you came over?
I moved around 16 and a half, so I finished high school 11th, 12th grade.
Okay.
And then college and onwards here.
So what was that like coming over from another country? I know a little bit because, as I mentioned, my girlfriend in high school was Israeli. Yeah. So she'd spent our summers in a kibbutz and stuff like that. So that must have been a little bit of culture shock. What was that like for you?
So it's different, right? I came from a city, Israel is not entirely kibbutzes,
right.
In retrospect, I know my parents were very worried about it. They even went to the principal and they asked, is it going to be okay? And the principal said, you really shouldn't move a kid this age into a completely different environment. And my mom had a gut feeling. She's like, he's going to be okay. And maybe it's in my DNA. My ticket to make friends and everything was actually music. So growing up, I played various instruments. My main ones were piano and saxophone. And I moved to the United States and became a band geek.
Right.
And that really just was my ticket in. And I think back then, I didn't have this hair. I had blonde, curly surfer hair. And that was kind of like the new kid on the block. It was very enticing to people. Okay. So it was easy to make friends. And it's easy for me to make friends in general.
Right.
And I don't know, to tell you that it was a struggle, it wasn't a struggle.
And your folks were stayed back in Israel, or they came over with you?
Here. So my folks were here. My sister moved out of Israel initially. She moved to New York because she loves New York. And my brother finished his army service a few months after we moved, and then he joined us. So the entire core family was here.
So I think every child I've ever spoken to, and to be fair, I haven't talked to that many, but certainly dozens that I've ever talked to, somewhere between the age of 5 and say 11 or 12, wants to be a vet, right? kids love animals,
Yeah.
especially, cats and dogs and stuff like that. But, I think the statistics are that it's harder to become a vet than it is to become a doctor, right? In terms of getting into vet school versus getting into medical school and the graduation rate and stuff like that. Plus, even logically, you would be like, well, gee, if I'm a doctor, I just have to know how humans operate. If I'm a vet, I have to know dogs and cats and guinea pigs and iguanas and whatever. How come you're one of those few that actually said, hey, I'm going to be a vet, and then actually became a vet?
So I think the AVMA, so that's the American Veterinary Medical Association, looked into it, and they established that there's really something deep in people's heart that want to go to vet school. It definitely is an emotional decision first and foremost. And animals have always been in my life, looking back at it in some capacity. We can go into it later if you want to. So initially, I went into business school and marketing. And I'm like, I don't want to go to vet school. I know how hard it is. I know how much work it takes. And I'm one of those people that once I make a decision to do something, I have to do it to the fullest.
Right.
To the best of my abilities. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do the work. So I went to business school. And I said, okay, this is not my environment. So junior year of college, I was at the University of Florida. At the end of it, I'm like, I don't want to go into sales because that's usually like the route that you take with marketing. I want to go to vet school. That's really what I want to do. In the meantime, I worked throughout entire time in college and in animal hospitals and everything. Animals have always been there. And at the end of my junior year in college, I said, yep, let's make the decision. So I kind of like talked to the administration and I finagled some sort of a degree with a specialization in animal sciences for financial aid purposes. And then just finished the prerequisites. I was a senior taking Chem 101 classes, right? So there was some disparity in age with my classmates, but I did the work, finished my degree, got accepted to college, and it's definitely an emotional decision. There's a passion.
And I probably should know this, but how many years of school is vet school? Because it's 4 years for most medical schools, right? And then you usually do a residency after that. How does being a vet mirror that, if at all?
So it mirrors very similarly, right? You have the 4 years of your bachelor, and then you have 4 years of vet school. If you decide to specialize, you usually end up doing 1 to 2 years of an internship, and then probably 2 to 3 to 4 years of residency, depending on the specialty that you go into. If you do just general practice, just quote unquote, because really general practice, we're a little bit of ophthalmologist, dermatologist, cardiac, like we do it all. You just have to do the 4 years of vet school, and then you take your national boards, your state boards, and then you can practice.
Got it. And again, I'm sure like most professions, and again, even my own personal experience with vets, not necessarily that they were a bad vet. Actually, maybe they were. I think about it because they're running all these tests and they're like never coming to any conclusion, just racking up the bill. But I definitely know with doctors, like it's kind of stunning. I mean, most doctors know virtually nothing about nutrition. I mean, almost zero. And if I had to be honest, like I think there are way more bad doctors than good doctors. I maybe because it's more passion driven, I gotta believe that's less common in the vet space. But I don't know. What's your experience?
My experience is that there are a lot of smart people out there, but book smarts is not enough, right? There's definitely some street smarts. There's definitely some communication. Every once in a while, I will run into a colleague. Well, initially, more so in school, that they decided to be a vet because they don't like people. Like it's the most idiotic thing to say because animals don't come to the clinic without their owners, right? And they don't pay the bills and they don't give history, right? You communicate through the owners. Right. So you must have some people skills to be able to do your job well. And, like I said, there are smart people, but not every smart person is a good doctor. And I think it's in life too. So it's a combination of people skills and book smarts that I think really allows people to excel as a veterinarian. And in terms of human doctors, look, I can't talk about different countries, but is the health system the best in this country? It's a topic. The way that it's run.
I think we're okay when it comes to like you have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like that kind of medical care.
The critical care.
Yeah. But like I don't know if you even call it wellness. What do they call it? It's more like they almost want people to be sick so that they're medicated their whole lives.
I'll tell you a story about our own doctor. Is initially when we moved to Miami, we found a doctor, and I won't name names and I won't name hospitals, but we came in, and I'm a pretty healthy person. I don't have chronic illnesses, thank God. And she does her physical exam and everything is fine. And then I tell her, you know what, I'm a little bit tired, I'm a little bit fatigued. And can we dive into this, right? Can we do something about that? And then she turns to me and she says, well, this is a healthy-based visit. You will need to make another appointment for a sick-based visit. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
I thought this was my annual, but okay. So
that's amazing.
So I don't know if the system doesn't allow for doctors to be the best version of themselves. Maybe. I'd like to believe that. I'd like to see the good in people. But one thing that we do at WAGS, at our clinic, is that even though there is a certain allotted time for an appointment, it's really just a guideline. We never end appointments soon. We never rush them. At the end of the day, the person that's bringing the pet needs to know what's happening with their pet, right? If you left our clinic not understanding what's going on, or even the next step, right? Or even why we chose XYZ to treat your pet, then I didn't do my job well. And sometimes appointments do run 45, 50 minutes, and I run behind. And I just hope that the next client will understand, because I wouldn't rush their appointment. But we don't rush them. And we take the time to explain what's going on. And I don't find that really happens unless you have a concierge doctor in human med.
Yeah, one, concierge medicine is outrageously priced.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working with a client now, and it's going to be somewhere between 30 and 50 grand a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but even like I remember I found a local doctor, and I was doing it through One Medical.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a primary care doctor here, and I used to go to Forward, and then Forward closed down. So I'm like, okay. So I was using One Medical, and my cholesterol was like out of range by like 2 points.
Okay.
And my healthy cholesterol is quite high, right? So it's like, I know enough. And he's like, well, you're 59. Maybe we should think about getting you on a statin. I'm like, are you high? Yeah. I'm like, have you even researched? Do you even know what you're talking about? Like, I knew way more about it than he did, which is frightening.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to get your thoughts about how AI might affect your business, because here's the way I look at it, because I almost feel like the veterinarian space has it right and our regular medical system has it wrong. Now, it's true that I might go to a general practitioner, but other than maybe, doing my annual physical and making a referral for an ophthalmologist or a neurologist or whatever ologist I might need, he or she is not really, serving me, right? As opposed, meaning like there's a very low percentage of the things they're going to resolve. I would imagine but my experience with vets are, they resolve most issues, and there's the occasional stuff that gets referred out to a specialist. But let's call it 80% of the things when you take your pet to a vet, they're going to cure, right? And only maybe 10, 20% gets referred out. Yeah. I feel like with human medicine, it's flipped.
It's flipped.
It's like 10%, like you said, I can't even talk to you about illness. This is a wellness visit. And so what's interesting to me about that is, if I were a doctor in medical school, I think I'd be really nervous right now because of AI. You think about it. Even if you have a really thoughtful doctor who's really trying to stay on top of their stuff, maybe they go to a couple conferences a year, they read a few research papers a month, whatever it might be. Yeah. But AI could consume every paper ever written, every speech ever given in every language, right? Including the ones that happened last night at midnight. Yeah. Across all domains, not just, cardiology, nephrology, whatever, ophthalmology, whatever it might be. And so if I had a choice of asking AI that's consumed all of that and is on the latest and greatest and everything versus a human doctor who knows one area, it's kind of a no-brainer. How do you see AI affecting maybe your space? Do you think it'll affect it much?
So I think if you think that AI won't have an effect on you, you're wrong. It's going to affect every single aspect of our lives. So we must lean into it. We must understand it. I think you have to be very cautious with AI because right? I forget what the official term is. It works based on the frequency of whatever is being said. That's what it's going to spit out to you, right? So if enough people say the same thing, then it's going to spit that out to you as your first choice. And it doesn't mean that just because it's the most frequent thing being said, that is the correct thing.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, it's very important to have a human there to take a step back and say, well, okay, I'm seeing my patient in front of me. I'm seeing the clinical signs. I'm getting the correct history and asking the right questions from the owner, because AI operates based on prompts, right? And if you give it the wrong prompts, it doesn't give you the right information.
Yep.
So the prompt that you give it is very important. So vets or doctors in general are trained to ask the right question, open-ended question, not leading questions, and really take this puzzle and put it together to create a diagnosis in order to come up with a treatment plan, right? My job, right, is really not education. My job is not to take blood, not to place catheter. My job is to take this puzzle, put it together, come up with the correct diagnosis, and come up with the correct treatment plan. That's it. That's my job. Yes, we go way above beyond that, client education, customer experience, but that's really my job. And I just don't think AI can substitute that. Now, there's definitely place in AI in veterinary medicine. There's a very big push for medical documentation, which I love, because basically you can turn on the recording and just speak like you and I are speaking now, and it will categorize it in the way that we record our medical notes. It's called SOAP notes, subjective objective assessment plan. There's a very specific way to document the visit, but it will do it automatically. And the cool part is that as the conversation goes, like let's say even if we're part of the client education portion of the visit, which usually comes at the end, if you say something that it's history-based, that goes under the S, the subjective, the history, it will automatically put it up there. So I love that. It saves me it will save me a ton of time on medical documentation. Maybe I can see more pets. Maybe I can help more pets.
Right.
So that's one example of how AI works. But, if I think about who my clientele is, right, I have different generations. I have baby boomers, I have Gen X, I have millennials, I have Gen Z, right? And each one uses AI completely differently, right? I would say Gen Z and millennials might even go to Dr. Google first, right? Come up with some plan and would appreciate more conversation and discussion about what's going on, while older Gen X and baby boomers maybe will be more traditional, quote unquote, and have more faith with a doctor. Maybe they'll look into it, but at the end of the day, they'll still trust a doctor. So I have to lean into it. It's the future. I mean, I can't ignore it.
It was funny. So when Cabby wasn't doing well, Sina was, all over AI, and it was funny. She had developed kind of a relationship with ChatGPT where she was basically, Cabby was at, ChatGPT was saying, "How's Cabby doing?
Oh God,
can I say a prayer for him?"
No.
And get this, it said, I wrote a poem for Cabby. Would you like to hear it? And it read the poem to her.
That's crazy.
And it was funny after, Sina was basically like, "I know it's AI, but I'm not going to lie. I feel better."
Yeah.
And it was like. Anyway, it was wild.
Right? Doesn't it remind you of the iRobot movie with Will Smith?
It does. By the way, I looked it up the other day because I was a big Isaac Asimov fan, growing up, and I read, I think almost all of his books.
Okay.
iRobot was written in 1950. 1950. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking 1985, 1980, something like that. No, 1950. I was blown away.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And I have one of my employees, and she's working on some stuff, and she's using ChatGPT, and she refers to it as him.
Right.
I mean, what? This is a robot, right? There's and it does great things. Listen, if I need to come up with, SOPs or some processes for my business, it saves me time. So there's definitely benefit there, but we got to remember it's a computer.
Well, let's talk about the pivoting to basically. So again, I don't know the backstory. I don't know how long ago you opened WAGs, but did you work as a vet at someone else's practice for a while and then start your own? And if so, why did you decide, hey, I want to open my own?
So, first and foremost, WAGs cannot exist without my husband, Dr. Jordan. He's the co-owner.
Right.
So shout out to him because
Did you guys meet in vet school or?
Yeah. So we both went to vet school in Grenada.
Okay.
At St. George's University, and he's 2 years ahead of me. And it's a funny story how we met. There's two versions of it.
Your version in the truth, or his version in the truth?
He was a little bit. That's for another time. Right. But he was persistent, and he pursued me later after the first time we met, right. And we hit it off right away. We're really yin and yang. So even in business, we complement each other. So the way that it worked is he finished vet school. He's 2 years ahead of me. He worked at a different animal hospital. When I finished vet school, I started working in a different animal hospital, but that's when we opened the clinic. And what happened is that he didn't take a salary for, it was 6 to 9 months, because everything that was being made, right, it was a startup. Yeah. We had no patients, no nothing. So everything that was being made was basically reinvested in the business for obvious reasons. And then what I made when I worked at a different hospital supported us personally.
Got it.
And so that was like that for the first 6 to 8 months. Okay. It was about 7 years ago. We're on our 7th year. And after 6 to 9 months, I started working 1 day a week, increased to 2 days a week, and gradually just at some point it was, okay, I gotta come on full time. Okay. It was just right before COVID started. And COVID, I know it affected a lot of businesses. In VetMed, it only helped. Because people stayed at home, they were bored, they got pets.
Right. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So our business boomed, and that was when I came on board full time. And really, it goes back to me being a little bit lazy, but I didn't want to open a business because I know what it takes. I had a feeling of what it would take to open a business, right? You really never take vacations. You're really not off. You've had numerous businesses. Yeah. You know how it is. And it was my father-in-law that really pushed us to open the business. He was one of the biggest OBGYN doctors in South Florida. He had a couple practices. So he knew what owning a business can really provide you financially and lifestyle-wise that you being salaried cannot. And he said, you guys should really do it. And he really helped us find a location. Jordan and I really love New York and Florida. We were considering opening a clinic in New York, but the market is way too saturated and cost of living is way too high. Right. And what our money at the time could get us down here was infinitely better. Yeah. And our family is down here. So those were the two decisions. We wanted to be close to family and the other reasons. So the three of us, Jordan, myself, and my father-in-law, were talking about, okay, let's open a business. And that was actually, I decided that towards the end of vet school. So some of my rotations and my clinical training, my last year of vet school, were actually geared towards business. So I did an internship with a Live Oak Bank, and they give you some, it's like a few weeks of like learning how to operate your business. Okay. And I had my business education background, and I just have a feel for it. And we were working that, and we decided, yes, let's open in South Florida. We found a place on Brickell Key. We wanted to belong to a community. And that's it. And we opened it. And, man, we learned a lot along the way. You just can't prep for that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, and the business you start, it never goes as planned. Literally never. It's never happened in the history of business. I don't know if you know the story, but like with Federal Express, with FedEx, they were going to go out of business. They weren't going to be able to make payroll. Yeah. So their CEO went to a casino and literally put it on black roulette, made enough for payroll. Like he happened to got lucky and won, and left the casino with the money, made payroll, and now FedEx is still around.
No, I didn't know that.
If it had been landed on red, there'd be no FedEx. So, so maybe tell me the biggest speed bump you guys hit, sort of getting it off the ground.
So,
because that's an interesting location. I wouldn't have picked that location necessarily, but I guess I see your point about being part of a community, that you're the kind of the only game in town in that area.
Yeah. So it was a combination, right? So first we wanted to belong to a community. I personally always had this dream of like this young couple coming to me with their new pet, right? And it sounds cheesy, but we grow all together, right? Like the pet gets older, and I'm always there for that pet throughout the pet's life, whenever they need, all the way till that last stage. So we wanted to belong to a community. Another part that was very lucrative attractive with Brickell Key, not lucrative, attractive, is that it has this little park in the center, right? The grassy area. So we really like the idea of, okay, let's say if a patient is nervous or stressed, or we need to recover a patient after anesthesia because they're cold and we need the sun. Like, we had a place to go to extend our services, just to have something that is, not confined into the four walls. So we really like that part. I forgot the question.
Oh, so the question was, what was the biggest speed bump you hit?
So-
And maybe oh man, that was a lot harder than we thought it was going to be.
So I think owning a business is not a race. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
It's
not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't think there was a grandiose speed bump, but there is definitely a lot of bumps along the way. And I think if you have the stamina and if you have the right partner, you can overcome anything. And till this day, I mean, we have challenges every single day, but because I have such a good partner by my side, I know that I can conquer it. So I know that I didn't give you a major speed bump, but there's a lot of little ones along the way.
Well, so the other thing, again, that just really impressed me was the culture. It seems like you have, created at WAGs. I know my wife came in hysterical. Your staff was like hugging her and like really, you called up even after
After hours.
Yeah, it was just like, wow, like they actually care to check up. The vets I've been to in the past, that's never happened. And like I said, everyone just seems genuinely happy to be there. How is that based on how you hire, on how you train? How do you screen for that?
So the culture at our hospital is trust oriented. If I can't trust you, or if you're dishonest, we're very understanding, we're very lenient.
Right.
Until you lie or you're dishonest.
Right.
If that's the case, you're gone. You're gone immediately. Because if I can trust you on the most simplest thing, how can I trust you in surgery? How can I trust you that you're actually giving the right medications? So the culture is based on trust. A lot of bosses, when you're out, they're like, oh, I need proof from a doctor. I need this, I need that. I don't have time to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right? If for whatever reason, if you decided not to come in, I'm going to trust you, right? Like you're sick. Right? And if you decided to not come in because you don't like coming to work, then we have a bigger problem at hand. That means that I didn't create an environment sufficient enough to support your passion. So that's one. Another one is education. So we start every single morning with educational rounds. And I created a set list of questions that pertain to just general cases that we see and stuff like that. And we test each other and we talk about it. And we say, okay, we are doing a heartworm test. Our heartworm test, does it check for current infection or exposure? And we tie questions and questions just to get the brain juices going and really contribute to the individual's education. So when Jordan and I opened the clinic, one of the things that it was important for us is to invest in our team. And one of them is education. Right? I don't want you to be bored. I want you to get better, you as an individual, as my team member. A third is the passion exuded by our team members. I can't, maybe I have some part of it, but really it also depends on the individual. HR-wise, you have hard skill and soft skills. I'll teach you all the hard skills that you need to know. Soft skills you're born with. If you're not a good match, you're not a good match. And it's important for the match to also be with the rest of the team, right? When a new team member comes in, they know that they need to get along with the staff, and the staff know that they need to accept them, right? There's very much a camaraderie in terms of helping, like, oh, you need to run this diagnostic. Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Everybody knows, right? Nobody is better than anybody else. The doctors, if the team is extremely busy and we need to put a load of laundry in, we'll do that, right? Like you're not better than that, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, we're operating a hospital, we're helping our patients. That's the end of the day. And we all take our part just to make sure that it happens.
Oh, that's interesting. When is the plan to, just grow the location you're at? Do you have the idea to expand to other locations? Like, are there any expansion plans? Or is it more of a, hey, look, we can make a good living doing this. We love what we're doing. We love where we are, and we don't need to get any bigger?
It's a good question. Come back to me in a couple of years. We've been approached by a few people wanting to expand WAGs. Right. And I know it will generate more income, because we do it well. I just don't know if I want that. Expansion of services, I think yes, because we always, but that's patient driven, right? If we take a step back and say, okay, what services do we not have that our patients have to travel an hour to get? And we're thinking about that too. Not every dog wants to be in a car for an hour. It's stressful, et cetera, like that. So maybe we can offer those services. So expansion of services, yes. A second location, maybe. We just see what it takes to get the right team. And I think at some point, if you expand to a certain size, you just lose that.
It's hard to expand without diluting the culture at least a little bit.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I'd assume your employee turnover is extremely low. But I'm curious, is that true?
So we're actually, it depends on at what time. So I would say about 50 to 60% of the team have been with us for a few years.
Okay.
While the rest may change. I've had employees leave and come back. That too, it always feels good because it makes you feel like, okay, cool, like we're doing something right. And I've had multiple employees go to vet school too, which for me is like the best feeling. Here it is, I had this team member, knew nothing, started as a receptionist, worked her way up to assistant, graduated vet school. I just have another employee that just got accepted this term as well, and it's like the proudest that we can be. And we'd like to think that we're contributing to that. So I would say we have a few employees that are been with us for years and then come back, and some change. Again, it's the fit of the culture. If you don't fit, you got to go.
And so I had the statistics right. It is much harder to get into vet school than it is med school. Do I have that right?
Just by the sheer virtue that there aren't the same number of schools. Right. So I think now they have to be, they don't have to be AVMA accredited. You can take this like very rigorous exam if you graduate from a non-accredited AVMA school.
Okay.
But the accredited AVMA school is less than 40, right? Wow. And the class size is anywhere between 100 and 150. It might change now because schools, just like airplanes, are trying to fit more people in the rows. But that's it, right? So the number of people that can even get into school and then matriculate, because there is some percentage of failure, substantially less.
Wow. Yeah. And like I said, the few people I know that, because like my mom's partner, went to Cornell undergrad, extremely smart, wanted to become a vet. She'd been like a vet tech, had done surgeries, all kinds of stuff, and she loves animals, and she didn't have it. Like it was just too tough for her to do it. And I was like, man, and she's really smart. Yeah. And I was like, man, it must be really tough. I'm curious about your opinion. We talked about it a little bit, but I feel like the people I know that have had, pets that have, 15, 18, sometimes even 20, they eventually have to, put them to sleep. It almost feels like we're more humane, ironic the word I'm choosing, more humane to our pets than we are to humans. 100%. It's like, I feel like the end of life for humans, like my, Sina's grandma had recently passed away. She was 94 or 95. And, non-compos mentis and, no, very, very low quality of life. And I just feel like, because my grandmother, she passed away maybe 8 or 9 years ago. She's my last living grandparent, and she was also in her mid-90s. And, it was heartbreaking to see someone who had 3 master's degrees not be able to remember her children's names. Yeah. And I'm just feeling like it just seems so cruel to me. I'm curious, as a vet, how you think about that. And I'm just curious how you think about that.
That's a brilliant question. By the way, the grandma was the Jewish side or the Italian side?
The last one that passed of mine was Jewish side.
Okay, nice. It's a brilliant question because I think I don't look at euthanasia as giving up.
Right.
Maybe I'm rationalizing it because I have to sleep at night. I'll have clients that come to me and tell me, there's a term called convenient euthanasia. It's like, we're moving to a new house and we can't have the dog and now we got to put it to sleep.
Oh my God, people do that?
No, people do that.
Oh my God.
And I reserve the right to say, sorry, I can't help you, right? Because with every time that I put a pet to sleep, I still have to sleep at night, right? Yeah. So I don't look at it as giving up. I look at
Convenient euthanasia. I'm just trying to
It's
wrap my head
crazy.
around that.
Yeah, yeah.
Convenient murder, it sounds like, but okay. Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it as giving up. I look at it as the ultimate treatment, right? My purpose is to make sure that the patient is comfortable. Sometimes we can do it with medications, some treatments, etc., surgery, but sometimes we can't. I think we're doing humans a disservice by not having that as an option. It is available in some states. I think Oregon, it's available.
Yeah.
I think it's available in Switzerland, et cetera. There's some criteria that you have to meet. Personally, I hope that it's legal by the time that it's my time.
Oh, well, I mean, it's at least like you said, I know Oregon's one of them because I'm not going to go out that way. Like, I'm not letting my wife take care of me. I'm not letting my daughter take care of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll throw a big party and then I'm going out. Like, I'm just not going to.
So I'm going to share with you. I wonder if Jordan wants me to share this or not. But my dream is to, right, like, I don't know how old I am at that point, maybe mid-80s. I've done everything that I wanted to do, you know. The whole family is supported. I've created a generational wealth for everybody to take care of, to be taken care of. And we take the entire family on a trip to Switzerland, and everybody gets a letter, right? But grandpa and grandpa aren't coming back with you.
Okay.
And I'm on a swing, sipping a hot cup of cocoa in front of the Alps, and like, give me that injection, you know?
There you go.
That's like go on a bang because, like, you know, like Santa's grandma, and did she want to be in that condition? No way.
Not only that, but it wasn't just, you know, my opinion, it wasn't just affecting her life, but the people that had to care for her. They're having to put their life, you know, on the sidelines while they care for someone who barely even remembers who they are.
Right, and it's the same it's the same in veterinary medicine. And I always tell, so I always have to consider that there is also a human involved, not just a pet involved. So I've had clients tell me, "Oh, I'm going to refinance my house to afford this treatment." I'm like, "You will absolutely not do that. That doesn't make sense. Maybe we can come up with a different solution."
Right.
And I have many times clients, you know, Jordan and I as well, you know, when our kitty cat Mitzi was towards the end of her life, no trips, no nothing. We wanted to spend as much time with her because we just didn't know how much time we would have left with her. So our lives were affected too. So it's the same. So that the quality of life for the pet and the owners are definitely go together when you make that decision. But I'm just saddened that it's not an option in human medicine. We're doing ourselves a disservice.
Well, it's funny because I do think this is where the slippery slope can get a little dangerous. I just heard the statistic the other day that the number, because, you know, it's much easier to have human euthanization, whatever you call it, in Canada than it is in the U.S.
I didn't know.
And but now, mind you, they have 1/10 of our population.
Yeah.
I think the number I heard was they euthanized, it was like 50,000 people last year.
Wow.
So with our population, that would be 500,000 people, you know, if it was the same ratio. And a lot of it was like convenience, like, oh, I'm having mental health challenges. I think I'll just take myself out. Not like I have terminal stage 4 cancer and I'm going to be dead in 3 months anyway. I'm going to be in agony for the whole 3 months. Like, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah. But look at Robin Williams, right? Robin Williams, a comedian.
Right.
He ended his life because he had a diagnosis that he knew that he would lose his mind, and he didn't want to get there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. For some reason, I thought he had just overdosed. I actually didn't realize that he had basically taken himself out.
I'm pretty sure it was because he did. Yeah, he took his own life.
Right.
But because of the diagnosis that he had, that would lead him
Got
right
it.
and like look who he is, and like he needs to be sharp-minded.
That makes sense. Like I said, to me, so you don't know this, but when I was 24, I was misdiagnosed with terminal cancer and told I had 6 months to live. So, you know, I have faced death before. Like, for a month, I genuinely thought I would be dead in 6 months. Obviously, not how it turned out. But I'm not scared. Like, I don't want to die. Like, I'm very happy with my life. But like, when the time comes, like, if I'm not functional, what good? You know, I don't see what use I am. Yeah.
No, and I get what you're saying in Canada in terms of like not having stage 4 cancer. Look, at the end of the day, you should want to be on this earth, right?
Yeah, true.
Right? You should want to contribute to the community that you're part of. You should want to put your friends and family, like, right? Like, if you commit suicide, it's kind of a selfish thing. And I'm sorry, no, it's a very contentious thing to say, but it has ripple effects on your entire immediate community.
Sure.
So, right, like the decision to be part of this life falls on the individual.
Yep.
And you should want to. I want to. You want to. There's a lot to bite out of life. But if you don't want to, you don't want to. Is it better for you to jump in front of a driving car and affect the entire community? Like, I don't know. It's definitely a deep discussion.
It's a tough call. What I do think is, I think that you don't want to necessarily encourage it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think making it available is very different from, if imagine you're running TV commercials. Hey, having a rough day? Take yourself out. Well, so one of the things that was so surprising about the care that we in Cavi received from your company, from your clinic, was you guys were discouraging us from having tests run. Like when I had my one dog that had passed away on my birthday, I'd been going to the vet almost daily for like 6 weeks up to that point, and they'd run every test known to man. And I would be like, well, okay, if we run this test, that's $800. Like, what things will it rule out, and what things might it identify? And they say, well, it's hard to say. I'm like, well, hold on. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I was just so impressed with the fact that you guys are like, look, here's what we think it is. We could run this other test, but hey, let's wait a day or two and see how he's doing. Like, I was just so impressed. And to me, it seems like good business as well as just good care. Because now when you guys tell me something needs to be done, I just trust you because you told me there were these other things I didn't need to have done. And ultimately, I would think if you really were an exceptional vet, your goal would be to do the minimum necessary to make the patient healthy. Yeah. But as opposed to maximizing. And the reality is, too, I'll tell anyone that listen, anyone who's got a pet in a 10-mile radius, there's only one place you should go. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. But it's like, so I think it's good for business, but no one seems to do that except you guys.
So, and that may be because who Jordan and I, that's who we are. As a business owner, there's definitely many ways that I can exploit my clients, just like you said. Do I have like the angel and the devil on my shoulder be like, oh, do this? No, because I know that I want to do right by my patient. I'll give you an example, right? I also do acupuncture. I practice acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And I'll have...
On pets, people, or both?
On pets and Jordan.
Okay.
And I'll have clients come to me like, I want to do preventative acupuncture. And I tell them, that's not a thing. Acupuncture is about bringing the body back to harmony, right? I need to have disharmony. I need to have unbalance to bring it back. I also want to make sure that I'm able to assess success. If there's no illness that I'm fixing, then I'm not here to just waste your money, right? Also, at the end of the day, whatever I do to my patient affects them. If I had to take blood, and Caviar, you said was about a pound. I think he was 0.6 pounds. I can pull up his medical record and check. Now I have to go with a needle to the jugular vein and get blood on a patient that is sick. It boils down to, we're not playing House, the TV show House.
Yeah, of course.
Right? This is not sometimes it is, sometimes it's a very rare disease, but for the most part, we're treating horses, not zebras, right? Like, chase what it's most likely, start your treatment, make sure that it's safe enough for the patient, and assess success. I called you guys, we were actually on a team event at a restaurant, and I wanted to check in because I wanted to make sure that the decision that I made was the right decision. Every single critical patient of mine is on my mind until they're good. I think of them in the morning. I think of them in the evening. It's because I want to make sure that they're okay. And that's the philosophy that we have. Treat what it's most likely. Start your treatment. Think about the patient. Is it okay to draw 3 cc's of blood right now from a very sick, dying patient? A lot of times, yes. A lot of times, yes, because you need to see, okay, how the internal organs are functioning, how the white blood cells, red blood cells, etc. But when Caviar came to us and we knew that he was a toy breed, and we knew, and the diagnosis that we did, we checked his blood sugar, and we said, okay, this is hypoglycemia. Cool. Let's start this treatment. And his condition needed just more prolonged therapy, but it was really the same therapy the entire time. We just needed to make sure that his body could metabolize everything that we're giving him. And I don't know if you remember, I said, look, if he's not getting better, then really the next step is to do blood work because we might have a liver issue that is not processing the nutrients well. That would have been the next step. But when I called you on the phone and he was doing better, then cool, all right.
Right.
We're on the right track.
Yeah.
So that's the philosophy.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I feel that same way. I mean, obviously, I've never run a veterinary clinic, but I've managed a lot of people over the years, and I feel like that it seems like you treat all your employees that same way, which is these are I'll say entities, people, in your case, pets too, where if you genuinely care about the person, like you make it about the person first or the pet first, in your case, and sometimes, you're gonna almost always get the best result. Like I think as an organization, people say, well, it's company first and employee second. I always do it the opposite. It's always employee first. I hate to even call them employees. It's the person first and it's the company second, because ultimately that's, especially when you're in a services business, like your employees are your company.
They're your biggest asset.
Yeah.
Right? Don't lose track of that. They're your most expensive asset, one of your most expensive asset, and then they're your biggest asset. And like you said, along with the philosophy that I just said, practice good medicine, do right by the patient and people, everything else follows.
Sure.
And it has worked for us. So I'm not in the business of taking advantage of anybody. I want to be able to sleep well at night.
Right.
Bottom line.
I gotta say though, it's not, unfortunately, it's not very pervasive. Like that has just not been my experience. And I guess the part that surprises me about it, like, again, it's not a space I know well, but just because like I said, every 8-year-old I think ever born wanted to be a vet at some point. And yet so few people do, you would think there'd be such a self-selection bias that the people that can make it all the way are so passionate about pets and trying to do the best they can that you would have more of the way you guys are. But that's not my experience. And I can't figure out for the life of me why, because the way you guys are makes so much more sense to me, both from that's how you'd want to travel through life, but ultimately, there's just no way you don't get way more referral business when you treat your patients fairly.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you know that, but it's either the highest or second highest profession with suicide rate.
Being a vet. I did not know that.
Yeah, there's an organization called.
No, dentists are number one. I do know that.
So I think we either beat them
two.
or we're number two, something like that.
Neck and neck.
And there's Not One More Vet is an organization that is there to support veterinarians and help them if they have suicidal ideologies, et cetera. And I think that speaks to the level of passion. But, running a business and being a veterinarian, not the same thing.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. And I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, maybe also immediate gratification, how that's what people are seeking, millennials.
Well, but I gotta believe, I'm sure that many people that come to you, either because they moved to the area, they're seeing you for the first time, you or someone in your staff for the first time, and their experience with other vets is other vets.
Yeah.
Or they had a bad experience with a vet and they came to you. So you must hear it a lot. I mean, what do you hear? I mean, do you hear, oh, we had this amazing vet where we were in New Jersey, and then we moved down here, and you guys are great too? Or do you hear more of the other, like, oh yeah, we had not the greatest experience and you guys are great?
I think it's a mixture. Definitely a lot of people tell us, oh my God, this is the best vet experience. At our hospital, we also have a dedicated cat room. You've never been to it because you don't have a cat, but for the past 7 years, not a single dog has stepped in it. So clients, when they bring a cat, they go immediately in there to reduce stress from having dogs around the cats in the lobby. We spray cat pheromones around. We use different handling techniques. So it's that type of thought and care that is ingrained in the DNA that is WAG's Animal Hospital that differentiate us. And many times people tell me, my God, like in past clinics, no one has been able to touch my cat, but here you are getting blood and urine and doing whatever you need to do. It's not by mistake, it's definitely by design. And it also trickles down to dogs. The team is trained to assess the dog's behavior, for example. If the dog is too stressed, physics is on my side, depending. If it's a Rottweiler, physics is not on my side. But for the most part, physics is on our side.
Right.
I'm not here to prove anything. I need to be able to handle this patient for the next decade and a half. If I provide a disservice to this patient, dogs and cats remember. I will never be able to do what I need to do on the pet. And now the owner will be reluctant to bring the pet, and the pet won't receive the care that it needs.
Right.
So it's those thoughts that are ingrained in the DNA of WAG's Animal Hospital. We want to make sure that pets are comfortable. Sometimes I have to use pharmaceuticals to make that happen, and that's okay. And we use very safe one with large margin of safety. And sometimes we schedule an appointment and have to reschedule it 3 different times until we get that right dose, because we don't start on high doses, we gradually go up. But that's just what needs to happen. And I don't care that I lost the business for that day because I wasn't able to do it, and maybe the owner won't come back, because again, I did right by my patient. Everything goes and boils down to doing right by their patient. But we have a lot of people that tells us, hey, I've never had this experience before. I think that's why we're successful to the degree that we are.
Well, Cavi, like, he gets excited when he's like, I've never seen a pet get excited to go to the vet before. But everyone's like, yay, Cavi's here.
Yeah, we get excited. We have numerous patients that, like, when they come to the treatment area, we literally go, caviar, caviar. Because we love them. What is there not to love about him? And I'll tell you what, like, do we fit everyone? No, there's a small percentage of people that maybe not can make everybody happy. And that's totally okay. And we also want to make sure that we recognize that, and we can help somebody find a different place if that suits them better. But they're definitely a minority.
Well, so I got to believe, just because I see the way my wife is with Cavi, I mean, she's a helicopter parent for sure. And don't get me wrong, she definitely helped nurse him back to health. And I mean, she was like, it was great that, how much attention, and it's nice to see them together. She has a whole little photo album of me and Cavi sleeping together.
I love it.
But I gotta believe you get some crazy humans into your business. Whether it's they've got the Rolls Royce cart for their horse or whatever, for their dog or whatever. Maybe tell me maybe a crazy story about an ex-patient.
A story about an ex-patient that is
What's the craziest thing you've seen? Maybe even back when you were in vet school or working at a different, animal hospital. I'm just curious, what's the craziest owner you've come across?
That's the thing. You're going to be disappointed by my answer.
No?
I don't judge.
Okay.
I don't judge, right? Like, at the end of the day, so another reason why we open in Brickell is it's no secret that it's a more affluent area.
Yeah.
It's no secret. And I will say that owning a dog, it's a luxury. And if you don't have the finances, just think hard whether you can afford a dog, because at the end of the day, they need certain care. And, the fact that they need a certain level of care, and you should be able to take care of them. So we opened in Brickell because we also wanted to be able to practice the medicine that we want to practice. If the patient needs an ultrasound that is $600, then I'm not going to subsidize it, and it's your pet, and I'll help you, and I'll help you in any way that I can. But at the end of the day, it's $600.
Yeah.
So with that comes an array of clients.
Right.
They come in, whatever it is. I also think that it's the United States, right? If you go outside of the United States to certain countries and you take a look back at how pets are treated here in the States, is not the same. Right? Like the place of the pet in the family is not the same. Many countries, it's a working animal, right? It's a guarding dog, is whatever it is. So if it's okay to do for a family member that's human, and if the pet, some people maybe don't want kids, maybe some people can't have kids, maybe that is the closest version of a kid, then whatever care they decide to give the pet, as long as they're not hurting it, I'm not here to judge it.
Okay. Maybe let's talk a little bit about, because again, this was new to me, but the whole pet insurance thing really kind of blew my mind. I mean, regular health insurance for people is pretty messed up too. Our healthcare system is messed up, but maybe talk a little bit about that. And is there guidance or advice you'd give people about, when to get pet insurance, if they should have pet insurance, at what age, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So the first distinction that we have to make is that I'm not a guardian angel for my patient as a human doctor is to their patient. Insurance is law, is contracts, is legality. And in the eyes of the law, a pet is property. As sad as it is, they're property. That's why when couples separate and they fight over custody, is property. It's not treated the same. So because it's property, pre-existing conditions always apply. So far as of right now, they always apply. So once you go to your vet for a certain disease and it's on record, right? That's it. Like you can try and go to a different vet and get a new medical record or go to a new insurance company, is it somewhat insurance frauded? Yeah, to I guess a degree, however you want to call it. But pre-existing condition applies. So
they're excluded.
They're excluded,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it can be something as simple as vomiting or diarrhea, and
So if they've ever vomited and they ever vomit again, it can't be treated?
can be treated unless you go to a different insurance company and provide a
Okay.
different medical record. Maybe you
Okay.
go to a new vet and you say, hey, no, he doesn't have any issues.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
insurance company communicate between one
Yeah.
another. I don't know. So we always recommend our clients, you get a puppy, get insurance now. Like you want to get it now when they're super healthy, and then that's it. And then it's kind of in the background. And then a tip that I can give client is that there are a few policies or coverages, if you will. So there's the emergency, right? Like if something, snap,
by
it
car
happened.
kind of thing,
Hit
or-
by car, toxicity, goes to ER. And then there's the preventative aspect of it. Vaccines, blood work, etc. And I recommend both, right? I recommend because we need to do vaccines, yearly blood work, fecal testing, but also that emergency. So we recommend both, and we recommend getting in when the pet is healthy because of pre-existing conditions.
So I hadn't thought about this till you mentioned it, but I'm curious your opinion about vaccines. There's a lot of controversy about the vaccines for humans, especially around COVID.
Yeah.
But I think now it's like, was it Thermosol or whatever? Like the FDA just said there are CDCs that are going to take that out of the vaccines for humans or something like that. What's your opinion about vaccines for animals?
One facet of veterinary medicine that a lot of people don't understand is public health. We are major players in public health. So we vaccinate for certain diseases that are zoonotic. Zoonosis means that it can be transmitted, contracted between species, humans, animals. So one disease, for example, leptospirosis, right? Bacteria transmitted by rat urine causes kidney and liver failure. We live in a city. We have rats. I've seen rats. We vaccinate for it. So another one is rabies. So I used to think that rabies, it's a third world country disease.
Right.
Well, no, a few months back, there was a horse with rabies near Homestead, right? It's in our backyard.
Right.
And that's not curable, right? You get rabies, you're done, right? So the public health aspect of it is major, and a lot of people don't understand that. The philosophy at Wags Animal Hospital is understand the lifestyle of the pet, right? We have guidelines based on national organization and research, et cetera, that are guiding us with how to vaccinate. But at the end of the day, it's about the pet. I'll give you an example. There's 3 major vaccines in cats: rabies, feline distemper combo, and feline leukemia. Feline leukemia is transmitted by prolonged exposure to saliva. We call it the love disease because it's the licking and the saliva. And they usually get it when a cat lives in a large cat colony. My single cat owning family that lives on the 30th floor in a high rise
Right.
is not going to get feline leukemia.
Right.
So we don't recommend that.
Right.
But for that cat that goes out at night, because the owner, that's the lifestyle of the cat, goes out at night, comes back in the morning, we recommend that. So we definitely vaccinate based on the lifestyle of the pet. That's one thing that we do. Another thing, there are certain vaccines, when they're giving on time and based on a specific schedule, you can make good for 3 years, right? So we minimize, if there's proper vaccination, we minimize the frequency. So we take that step as well. I think that, vaccination, we can argue with the polio vaccine, right? Like, it works.
Yeah.
So I think they're beneficial. It's just a matter of the lifestyle and don't do what's right for the pet.
Got it.
It boils down to that. But I'm pro vaccination if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, so what about maybe just what do you think is the most common mistake that pet owners make with their pets?
I would say training.
Do we say draining?
Training.
Oh, training. Okay.
Training. I'm sure Sin is not going to like this. I don't recommend for pets to sleep in the same bed as the owners.
Okay. Oh God, I'm never going to sell that one.
Don't crucify me, okay?
But why is that? I'm curious why.
It creates codependency.
Oh, I think that's what she's going for. I think that's the
Maybe
goal.
That's the goal. Okay, that's success. So there's definitely training and separation that at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your pet is independent, right? I mean, I have pets that are now unable to be apart from their owners to the point that when the owner leaves, and if they live in a building, the pet will either bark constantly, they'll get complaints from the building. Sometimes they're anxious to the point of self-injury.
Wow.
They'll bite themselves, they'll scratch out of the kennel, something, they'll break nails, they'll make themselves bleed, right? It's to the point of anxiety that is unhealthy, that requires treatment. And
Can they be trained out of that? So if they,
yeah, it's very hard and it takes a long time. And I think it boils down to immediate gratification.
yeah.
It takes months, but it's very possible. And sometimes training alone, sometimes training in pharmaceuticals, it just depends,
Sure.
right? So I think training is a major pain point. So that's one mistake. Another mistake, I would say, listening to fads, right? We talked about nutrition, right? And I'm not going to name specific food companies because I'm not about to get my butt chewed. There's a lot of marketing that goes into food companies, right? Like that beautiful bag that says ancient grains. What the heck are ancient grains? Right? Like ancient grains and, baby blue with orange, which are complementary colors, right? Like there's a whole marketing team that goes into creating the packaging and is not always best. People think that dry kibble is like chips, it's not. I see it as like space food, right? It's everything that you need, very concentrated. I'm not against feeding people food, but it can come instead. And if you do, you may want to consult a veterinary nutritionist to give you a specific recipe. Because there are certain minerals that fight for each other. If you give too much of one, you'll make the other one unavailable for metabolism. So there's definitely some responsibility that need to be practiced to generate the right recipe. There's just a couple. But I would say training is definitely a major one.
That's interesting. Yeah, because Cavi's actually fine, I think. But I think Cena is doing her level best to try to make sure he's as codependent as humanly possible.
Which is okay if that's your goal. I'm not here to judge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what's the? I know you maybe open another location, but when you think, you're still relatively young. I mean, when you think 15 years into the future, 25 years into the future, you think you'll do this until you retire? Do you think, it sounds like you had a musical background, maybe you decide to have a second go at boy band? I don't know.
I don't know. I think my gut feeling is to expand our services. The culture that we have is amazing. And I do think that once you expand to a certain degree, like you said, it's very hard to keep that culture because I think it comes from the top down in any business, right? I know that when you visited call centers in the back, you wanted to say hello to every employee. You wanted to know them. And you instilled a certain culture. And I think you lose it when you have 100 locations. And yes, between 1 and 100 location is a very big difference. But I'd like to make a diamond, right? And I'd like to polish that diamond. And I'd like it to be the biggest carat diamond ever and do that. If you ask me what I'm going to do for retirement, I have 2 plans.
Okay. But besides taking yourself out in Switzerland after some hot chocolate.
Yeah, that's right before. I'd like to be a beekeeper.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to have to give me a little background there. How is that?
So as a veterinarian, I have, like a bee is an animal.
Yeah.
Or it's an insect, but I think I have the capability of looking at it slightly differently as a veterinarian. I find the bee world fascinating. If you, Jordan bought me my first few bee books for last Hanukkah.
Right.
And I started reading into them and just the way that they operate, the way that you can really learn about it, it's amazing. So that's the therapeutic side of it. The business side of it, I'd love to make some product, go to farmer's market, sell it, communicate with people, just educate people about bees. So that's one.
Okay.
The other one is that I'm going to get a really old VW Beetle bug and just repair it and be that cool dude with the orange Beetle driving around.
Do you know how to repair vehicles?
Zero. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Well, I need something to occupy my time, right? It can't be
Right.
something easy. So that's my retirement plans. In terms of like 10, 15 years, I have a couple ideas, but they're inside here for now, you know?
Yeah. Well, so is there anything that you're doing like right now with AI that you're able to, I mean, obviously, right, you know, like you were saying, small things like SOPs and stuff like that. But is there anything you're using in terms of clinical care where you're using AI currently?
Other than documentation of medical records,
So does that be you basically like, would you like wear like a medallion that records or something like that?
phone.
Oh, it's on your phone. Okay.
it's
And
in
then
front
it
of
just,
your app, and you say to the client, just so you know, I'm recording the visit.
Okay.
Is that okay? Because you have to get permission. And then that's it, and you set it and forget it. And then it creates
does all the soap notes automatically?
all the soap notes automatically. So that's great. I'm still a bit hesitant to use AI for medical decisions. Remember, I forget what the term, I think it's like learned language or something like that.
Large language model? Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
large language model, right? So the most used words are going to be the one that's going to be given to you. It doesn't mean that it's correct.
Yeah. I will say the direction, I know a little bit about this area because it's what I studied undergrad a long time ago, but they are getting to models that are reasoning. So when they get to, you know, true, you know, general intelligence, which I think is closer than people realize.
Sure.
Yeah, it's much closer. But it's funny. One of the things I'm working on, I have a guy showed me this. He started working on it 2 years ago, and we had people over for dinner. We were having sushi, and so he basically showed me on his phone. It looked like I was doing a FaceTime with an avatar of him.
Oh.
So this is a guy who I'd had on my podcast, and
Did it look like him?
Was that?
Did it look like him?
It looked like him.
Okay.
It sounded like him.
Oh.
Because they had basically cloned his voice and cloned his image. So, and it, like, again, so it had vision, and it said, so his avatar said, oh, I see you're having sushi. It looks really good. Can you save me some? Which is kind of creepy, not going to lie. But because I'd had him on the podcast, I asked his avatar some of the same questions I'd asked him in real life.
Okay.
And I got the same answer.
Interesting.
And he said, at the time, he said he had it about 80% trained.
Right.
And within a year, he thought he'd be over 90%. But what I realized you're going to be able to do, and that, by the way, he started this development 2 years ago. I saw it maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
Now the technology, even in the last 6 months, has progressed where it's going to be relatively easy to create, especially I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of podcasts, both that I've been on, that I've had people on.
Yeah.
I'll be able to feed it all of my content, all of my writing, and it will answer questions how I would answer them.
Yeah.
And not only that, but think about it. You could even, you know, Dave from 10 years ago is different from Dave now, which is different from Dave 10 years from now. I can set up an RSS feed where every time I'm on a podcast or vice versa, it's fed into my model, and it updates me in real time, and so that as my opinions change, so will my AI.
My question is, what's the end goal?
I'll tell you. So there's two purposes I have for it. One's business related, one's creepy. The business related one is, so I'm going to be putting a course out on entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And the idea is that people and I'm going to also have a mastermind, so people that buy the course will get 30-day access to AI Dave.
Yeah.
So if they want a question at 2 a.m. and I'm not available, you can ask the question. And people who buy the mastermind, they'll get lifetime access to it. So that's the less creepy version. The more creepy version is I have a 25-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And I plan on living for a very long time, but I could be struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And so I had the idea that in the hopefully very unlikely but an unfortunate situation that were to happen, that it'd be nice if, you know, I was gone, that she could ask my avatar, hey, Dad, I had this date. I like, you know, what I'm thinking about this guy, or I've got this business situation. What should I do? Should I interview for the job? Shouldn't I? That she could ask AI me and get the same answer.
Yeah, I think it boils down to the individual, right? I don't know if I'm an early adapter per se. I don't fear technology, but I don't know if I'll be on that front line trying it. And I always think about, I don't remember what's the name of the company, but you know, like there's like 21andMe, where you can do DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
They have it for dogs now, though, for pets, don't
Yeah,
they?
they have. Yeah.
Okay, because I seen wanted to like find out if Cavi had any siblings.
In Russia, in London. But the thing is, the company, I think, is going belly up.
Right.
And some hedge fund company is going to buy it and going to buy all the assets.
Yeah.
Right? So now there's a database of DNA. What's going to happen with that?
Right.
So that's what scares me in putting me into something that I don't have control over. Right? How is me going to be used once I don't have control over it?
Right.
Right? Think about that. So
Well, I was thinking that the way I'm doing it, I would have control because I would control the access to it.
for now.
You're right. For now. I mean, I guess I assume that everything I ever said, wrote, texted, said on a phone call, the government has somewhere. I just assume that.
Yeah, there's no privacy, right? Like we have our eye finger, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's the illusion of privacy.
It's the illusion of privacy for sure.
Yeah.
But let's say now you don't have control over that, and now whoever has control is using the picture and voice of Dave to affect your family and communicate with your family and be like, "Oh, Dave is telling you to do this."
Well, there are a lot of scams that are doing that because what I heard was in order to clone someone's voice, you only need like 25 or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can clone their voice, and even a family member wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, and there is a paragraph of words that they say that now allows you. Once you say that paragraph,
It's like Mission Impossible.
Exactly. So once you say that, like you can do whatever. So it scares me a little bit, right? And that's the early adapter in me that's saying that. I don't know how AI is going to be in 5 to 10 years. For now, in vet medicine, at least in my world, it's payments, it's documentation. I'm a little scared to take medical advice. I may, I have my trusted resources for medical advice.
Well,
that
you
I
could
go
ask
to.
it for advice and then either take it or not take it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which I think at the end of the day, there should always be a human, like I said, we're at the beginning of this conversation, there should always be a human bottom line to take this whole puzzle and be like, does this make sense? We should. It's just part of the responsibility.
Now, you and your husband have a son, right?
Yeah.
How old?
He is now 20 months.
Okay. 20. I thought you were going to say 19 years old.
No.
19 months. So obviously it's a long way off, but I'm curious how you think about, and obviously as he grows up and he has different interests and so forth, but have you thought about how, whether it's, college, career, or you're like, oh, he's just way too young to even be thinking about that. But like, it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine and I was like, you think about it, your son will probably never learn to drive a car other than as a hobby. In the same way that I learned to ride a horse at summer camp.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know how to ride a horse.
Yeah.
But, back when my grandmother was born, everyone knew how to ride a horse.
Yeah.
That's what cars were.
We were mechanics. By the way, vets were mechanics.
I never thought about that. You're right. But so it's interesting that, and if robots are as prevalent as I think they're going to be, kids born today might never learn how to wash a dish or do their laundry or put clothes away because you'll have a robot that will do that. How do you think about that? And, or are you mostly just thinking about him taking his first steps and saying his first words and you'll worry about that later?
No, so I think neither Jordan nor I have Wags Animal Hospital to leave to our son. What we're doing is that we're investing, we're worrying about everything financial on the back end to allow him to do whatever he wants. And dad, in our case, Abba and Abba, that's what we refer to each other, will be there to give guidance, just like you give from your experience guidance to your 25-year-old daughter. Going back to AI, I worry, and Jordan and I both worry about even learning to write, for example, right? Like you can just go into AI, give him a prompt, and he'll give you a whole thing. Like, what is the ramification of that, right? Tie that into the fact that Gen Zs tend to be scared of face-to-face communication and picking up the phone and talking to each other.
Right.
Like, what does future communication look like, right? There's a book, Ready Player One. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's
I haven't read the book. Did they make a movie for it?
They made a movie of it.
Yeah,
The book
I
is way
saw
better.
I saw a clip, like usually, yeah. I think I saw a clip, but I never saw it.
Right, but especially it's a dystopian future where people live in containers and you just go into this AI world, right, or a different world by putting a helmet on, and that's how people communicate. Is it going to be that? I don't know. iRobot was written in the 1950s,
Right.
and little by little we're getting there. So I worry about that. But we didn't create the business to leave a legacy.
Okay.
And I don't know if any of your business you built.
No,
to
it's
leave a
funny.
legacy.
If my daughter watches this, which she probably won't, but in fact, it's funny. I did record an episode with my daughter.
Okay.
But she has not authorized me to release it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll see if I eventually convince her. But I suspect that she will eventually work together on some of the stuff I'm doing for my own personal brand.
Okay.
It's been interesting because her first job out of college, she worked for a company that was pre-IPO. She was working 70, 80 hours a week, and they eventually IPO'd. She actually made a little bit of money when they IPO'd.
Nice.
But she worked there for 2 years, and she was miserable. She's like, Dad, every Sunday, I kind of hope I get hit by a car so I don't have to go to work on Monday. I'm like, you need to quit your job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, she did, and now she's in another job that's much less taxing, but now she's bored.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and she's also seen the psychopathy in the C-suite, and, she knows I'm a pretty mentally healthy guy. So I think eventually, it was funny if you'd asked her in her late teens what I did for a living, she would say he just tells people what to do and he doesn't actually do anything. Now she would actually say, my dad actually, knows how to run businesses.
Yeah.
For me, I just, when I think about it, I just really want my daughter to be happy, and
Right.
what she does, doesn't really bother me too much.
I don't know if Jordan is going to like me to say this because now it's going to be recorded and online, and Lev is the name of my son. He's going to see this one day. We have arguments with each other whether going to college is beneficial or not.
I begged my daughter not to go to college. I told her, look, if we had just done what I wanted, which is, I said, I'll give you the money, put it in Bitcoin. Yeah. She'd be sitting on $8 million right now. Yeah. Okay, she just listened to me. Yeah. And look, I think you get a degree in gender studies or even her degree in psychology, right? It's like you could get a better education on YouTube for sure.
Listen, if you're going to be a lawyer, if you're going to be a doctor,
engineer, build bridges, sure,
you need to hands down, right? And Jordan brings up valid points. Like, it does teach you to communicate with others. You're living away from home, so like the social aspect of it, social development. It's definitely
a very expensive way to get some social development.
Very expensive, 100%. In terms of pushing you towards what you want to do, I just don't know. So that's the argument, right? I say if Lev comes to me and says, hey, I have this idea, and I'm like, okay, cool. Come to me with a business plan. Come to me with a well thought out plan. Let's do it, right? And that's because we have built an infrastructure financially that supports him going and chasing his dreams. Is he going to get it right the first time? Right. Unlikely. The second time, less likely, but at some point he's going to get it. And I think you get so much valuable life experience from owning a business, from being an entrepreneur, from chasing your dream that I don't know if you can always get from college.
I went to Brown undergrad and a Wharton Business School, and I think my educations were close to worthless.
Interesting.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm actually going to be. I'm launching my courses called the Anti-MBA, what the Wharton Business School never taught me.
Okay.
And I haven't landed the podcast yet, but I'm going to rip my diploma up on a podcast. Ooh. Because at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it, which is it cost me $250,000, and that's ridiculous. Yeah. I did the math. If you did it today, it cost you $500,000 to get an MBA. Yeah. That's lost income plus what it's going to cost you. That's ridiculous. And the reality is now we have a bit different problem. I mean, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
38.
Okay, so you're so young. So I'm 20 plus years older than you. Yeah. When I was growing up, the only way you could accumulate knowledge was you would go to a library and check out a book. By the way, you don't know if that book's any good because there's no book reviews, right? There's no Amazon book reviews. Oh, they got 4.2 stars. No, there's none of that, right? There's one copy of the book. It got checked out. Oh, check back next week. Maybe it'll be back, right? That's how you would accumulate knowledge. Now you have the opposite problem. Now it's the curation of content. You don't know what's good or bad content. Right. But now the problem is you have too much to sift through. Yeah. And so now it's like, okay, and now I need to find a trusted resource that can curate that content for me to tell me what's valuable and what's not.
Right.
And that requires you to trust somebody, and of course we know the problems with that.
Exactly. And the thing is, I think people need to be trained to be able to sift through that knowledge, right? Because take, for example, Barbara Walters. There's no more space for that. Back then, she had the ends with the biggest of the biggest, and you had to tune in to get a sip of that. But today, there's individuals like you that we just put it out there, right? Like they put themselves out there. So same with information. There's so much information out there, tying it into AI, right? Large language model, right? The most common things. It doesn't mean that it's true. I don't know, but how do you teach people to sift through that knowledge? Is that where college comes in? I don't know. I think college will need to change what they teach.
Like you said, I mean, I think kids born today will never write a research paper. I mean, a term paper. Like, why would you? Like, it wouldn't even make sense. I'll tell you one story. I'd written a leadership article about the Gladiator, leadership lessons from the movie The Gladiator. It's one of my favorite movies. And then my daughter turned me on to Ted Lasso, and I watched it, and I really enjoyed the show. And so I had the idea to write another article about leadership, but using Ted Lasso as an example. And I was about to start, and the first article took me like 25 hours to write and edit and so forth. And before I was about to start writing it, I'm like, oh, let me just see. So I basically fed my Gladiator article to ChatGPT, actually Grok, I did it to Grok, the one in Twitter. And then I said, I want you to write one in the same tone and style as this one, so it sounds like me, but use Ted Lasso examples instead of Gladiator examples. It nailed it.
It nails it.
It was like 90, I spent like 20 minutes editing it. And it sounded like me. It's like what I would have written, only with less grammatical mistakes, you know? And yeah, I mean, growing up, like there used to be adding machines. I learned to type on a typewriter, on a manual typewriter, not a computer. Nowadays, why would you learn that doesn't even make any sense?
No. So I don't know how things, by the way, you like Ted Lasso, there's a new show called Stick on Apple.
What's it called? Stick?
Stick.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's with Owen Wilson.
About hockey, I guess, or?
It's not hockey, it's golf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you like Ted Lasso, you'd like this one.
I'll check it out.
Like a little check it out on Apple TV. But I don't know. I don't know how education is going to look like 10 years from now with AI.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can write a complete paper like that.
Yeah.
So
perfectly sourced. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I'm working on, because I'm working on a couple of books right now, and I'm making it sound like me, but I'm definitely using AI to help me, streamline the process. Because for me, the blank sheet of paper is much harder than saying, hey, here are my ideas, here's an outline, here's a structure, and then having it, here's some of my writing examples, give me something to start with, and then make adjustments. And I find it's much. I mean, I'll probably do it in 1/10 of the time.
Easily.
Yeah. So, well, look, I really appreciate you making the time. So, by the way, I cannot puff you guys up enough because, like I said, one of the things that's heartbreaking for us is, in fact, seeing us talking about coming back to Miami for Cavi's vet visits. I was like, maybe if he's really in trouble, maybe we need to do that. But so honestly, you guys run such a wonderful organization. Where can people find you? And yeah.
So we are online. If you look at Wags Animal Hospital on Brickell Key, our website is www.wagsbricklekey.com. And we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and online. And if you look up ChatGPT, Best Vet in Brickell,
right,
will be the first one to pop up.
And I know is that, and usually I assume everyone's lying to me, but in this case, they're definitely not lying. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.